Hello and welcome to the Alpha Edge Podcast, the show for men over 50 who refuse to fade out, slow down, play small, or settle for average. I'm your host, Kevin English. I'm a healthy aging expert, coach, and founder of the Alpha Edge, and I am here to help you get and stay strong in every dimension of your life, physically, mentally, emotionally, morally, and spiritually. You're here because you're ready to reclaim your power, to own your masculinity, and lead your life with strength and purpose. If you're ready to sharpen your edge, revive your drive, and lead like a man who's built for more, you're in the right place. All right, men, let's get after it. All right, men, welcome back to the Alpha Edge Podcast. Today, I want to talk to you about this book, Iron John. It's a book, Iron John, a book about men written by of all things, a poet named Robert Bly. And this is a book that really impacted me when I first read it. And I'm not talking about some modern self-help fluff filled with corporate bullshit and dopamine hacks. I'm talking about a very real, very mythological look at what it means to be a man. So this book dives deep into an ancient Grimm's fairy tale, and it unlocks something primal, something timeless. And basically, it's about the journey from boyhood to manhood. And I mean real manhood, not the watered-down, neutered version our modern culture tries to peddle to us. I'm talking about the kind of masculinity that's fierce, it's focused, and it's free. Now, I'm guessing most of you out there have not read Iron John. Maybe you've never even heard of it. That's fine. What matters is this. The story of Iron John is your story. It's my story. It's every man's story, especially for us men over 50. Because let's be honest, most of us were never truly initiated into manhood. I know I wasn't. We didn't have elders showing us what it meant to be strong, dangerous, grounded, and good. We were told to be nice. We were told to play it safe, to sit still, to fit in, and to follow the rules. And somewhere along the way, we lost something. We traded in adventure for comfort, fire for convenience, purpose for a paycheck. And that wild, playful part of us, part that was made to lead, to fight, to protect, to create, it got locked away. In today's episode, we're going to talk about getting that back. And this isn't nostalgia. This isn't about becoming something you used to be, like your 20-year-old self. This is about waking up the wild man inside of you, the one who's been buried, caged, and ignored for far too long, and letting him out so you can live with purpose, power, and passion. Because you're not done. You're just getting started. All right, let's dive in. So what's the deal with this Iron John story? Why has this old fairy tale captivated so many men, and why does it still matter today? Let's walk through the story here. So in the story, we learn that there's this dark, mysterious forest near a king's castle. Hunters go in and they never come out. A whole bunch more go in. They also vanish. They never come back out. And people get spooked and they stay away. But then one day, a stranger shows up into town and he says, "Anything dangerous I can do around here?" Now that's a man. The king tells him about the cursed forest. Most men would run the other way, but this guy, he's all in. He enters the forest alone with just his dog, and he discovers there's a strange pond in the forest. Suddenly, a hairy red arm reaches out from under the water and pulls his dog under. And the man, he doesn't panic, he doesn't whine, he doesn't run away. He says, "This must be the place." Let that sink in for a minute. This big red hairy arm comes out of this spooky pool in this haunted forest and pulls his dog in underneath the water. And this guy says to himself, "Oh, this must be the place." So he goes through his provisions, finds a bucket, and he starts bucketing the water out of the pond. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried to bucket water out of a pond, but that is some slow, tedious, uncomfortable work. But eventually, what he finds is a massive, hairy wild man, covered in rust-colored hair, sitting at the bottom of this empty pond. The creature is Iron John. So our adventure takes Iron John back to the castle where he's locked into a cage in the courtyard, and the key is given to the queen. And one day, the king's young son is playing with his favorite golden ball, and he loses it. This ball is his treasure, and it rolls right into the cage with Iron John. And if he wants that golden ball back, he's going to have to go and face Iron John. And Iron John makes him a deal. Iron John says, "You want your ball? Then set me free." But here's the twist. The key is hidden under his mother's pillow. So now this boy is faced with the decision that every man eventually faces. Do I stay safe and comfortable, or do I take a risk, defy expectations, and go get that key? And so the boy finally summons up some cunning and some courage, and he steals the key from under his mother's pillow, and he unlocks the cage. Iron John hoists him up on his shoulders, and they ride off into the wild together. And that's the moment that everything changes. Because this whole story, it's not about fairy tales. It's not about some ancient forest and castles. It's about a symbolic blueprint for reclaiming your masculine soul. The forest, that's the unknown, the part of your life you've been avoiding. The pond, that's the deep well of your psyche. The wild man, he's the primal, creative, powerful you that has been buried under years of expectation, repression, and domestication. And the golden ball, that's your gift. It's your calling. It's the thing you were meant to do in this world, but you lost it somewhere along the way. And let's be real. Most men never go get the key. They don't dare, because they've been trained to obey, to follow the rules, to keep Iron John caged. But not you, not anymore. Because this tale, it's not just a myth, it's a mirror, and it's showing you the way back to yourself. So let's talk about that moment when our hunter, the adventurer, finds the pond and starts bucketing out the water. Now look, this part of the story isn't flashing. It's not a sword fight or a grand speech or a card chase. It's a man doing hard, repetitive, messy work, hauling bucket after bucket of water out of a murky pond. But don't miss this. This is the work. The wild man doesn't just show up. You don't get to meet your most powerful primal self by downloading a podcast or doing a vision board. You've got to go into your own forest. You've got to get uncomfortable, and then you got to stay there. You got to do the work, bucket by bucket. This is symbolic of the inner excavation every man must do. It's the daily discipline of reflection, of owning your wounds, facing your shadows, confronting the things you've buried under years of busyness, responsibility, and distraction. It's spiritual, it's emotional, it's physical, it's raw, and it's slow. But here's the thing that most men miss. There's treasure at the bottom of that pond. That rust-colored, hairy wild man, that's your raw masculine energy. It's your power. It's your fearlessness, your creative fire. It's the part of you that remembers who the hell you really are. There's a proverb that says this: the purpose in a man's heart is like deep water, but a man of understanding will draw it out. That's from Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5. In other words, you want to be a man of understanding, or at least that's who you want to become. You've got something inside you that the world needs, but no one else can go into your pond for you. No one else can bucket out your waters. This is your work. That's why things like solitude, suffering, silence, and sweat actually matter. This is why we train, why we journal, why we pray, why we fast, why we do hard things on purpose. Because every one of those acts is another bucket, and every bucket brings you one step closer to the wild man. And here's what you need to know, men. The wild man inside you is not dead. He's waiting. He's waiting for you to show up, to do the work, to draw him out. Because once you do, everything changes. He brings strength, clarity, purpose. He brings back your edge. But first, you got to pick up the bucket. Now, here's where the story gets real interesting. The boy wants his golden ball back, but Iron John doesn't just hand it over. He makes him a deal. You can have your treasure, but you got to let me out of this cage. There's just one catch, of course. We know that the key is hidden under his mother's pillow. Now, stop right there. This is not just some random detail in a fairy tale. This is a nuclear level metaphor, because if you want to step into your full masculine power, you've got to steal the key from the world of comfort, control, and safety. So let's break this down. The queen, or the mother, represents everything soft, safe, and domesticated. The pillow, that's the place of nurture, of rest, of dreams. But here's the truth. A boy can't become a man if he never leaves his mother's world. And I don't just mean your biological mom. I'm talking about the modern mother culture we're all swimming in. A world that tells you to be nice, compliant, passive, inoffensive. A world that fears strength, mocks masculinity, and shames risk. That world wants you tame, hairless, harmless, cageable. But the wild man, he won't fit into that world. He can't. And that's the point. The journey to reclaim your edge starts when you decide to steal the key, when you choose to stop asking for permission, when you stop waiting for someone to validate or approve your path. Because guess what? They won't. You'll be told you're too intense, too focused, too ambitious, too aggressive. Translation, you're making people uncomfortable, and that means you're doing it right. Let me say this very clearly. No one is going to unlock the cage for you. The government won't. Modern culture won't. Your boss won't. The church won't. And honestly, your wife's not going to unlock it for you either. You've got to take the key. Even if that means defying expectations, even if it means upsetting the system, even if it means breaking the rules that were never made to serve you in the first place. Because until you free the wild man, you can't get your golden ball back. That sacred thing inside of you that gives you purpose, passion, and direction. And look, I know this isn't easy. Most men never do it. They stay stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, habits that pacify them, all because the cage feels familiar. It's predictable. It's safe. But men like you didn't come here to play safe. You came here to reclaim your power, to pick the lock, to tear the door off the damn hinges if you have to, because once the wild man is set free, so are you. So, in our story, the boy steals the key. He unlocks the cage. And what happens next? Iron John steps out and everything changes. Because this is, again, it's the turning point of the story. This is where the nice, obedient, rule-following boy dies and the journey into manhood begins. The wild man doesn't just hand him a medal and send him home. No, he throws the kid on his shoulders and he carries him straight into the enchanted forest, into the unknown, into the wild. Why? Because real masculine growth doesn't happen inside the castle. It doesn't happen in the courtyard under mommy's watchful eye. It happens in the wilderness, in the places that test you, scare you, and strip away everything that's fake. That's where your power is forged. Again, Iron John isn't just some mythical beast or a fairy tale. He's a mirror. He's a part of you. He's the part that's fierce, primal, and untamed. He's your strength, your virility, your sacred aggression. He's your sexual energy, your drive, your creativity, your hunger to build, fight, protect, and lead. He's not toxic. He's dangerous in the right direction. And here's the truth, brother. You need him. If you felt flat, tired, aimless, lost in this life, like life lost its color, if you've been doing everything quote unquote right and you still feel empty, this is why. Because somewhere along the line, you locked away your wild man. You traded him for comfort, for safety, for approval. But deep down, you know that was never the deal. You were made for more. You were made for fire. And the wild man, he's the one who knows how to wield it. But here's what you got to understand. He doesn't want your excuses. He's not interested in your resume, your nice guy points, or your I'll get to it someday plan. He wants action. He wants you to say yes to the unknown, to power, to purpose, to risk, to responsibility, to becoming the kind of man who cannot be tamed. Because once you free him, once you let that wild man out of the cage, you become untouchable. You stop apologizing for being strong. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You stop chasing empty validation and start living with conviction. You stop following and start leading. You reclaim your edge, you own your name, and you rise like a lion. This, men, is your birthright. It's not too late. In fact, you're right on time. So here's the question. Have you freed your wild man, or is he still locked in a cage waiting for permission? Don't wait. Pick the damn lock. Let him out and go with him into the wild. That's where your power lives, and it's calling you back. All right, so the wild man is now out of the cage. You've made your decision. You picked the lock. Now what? This is where the real work begins. The real journey is beginning, because letting him out is just the beginning. Now you got to go walk with him. And the path forward, it's called initiation. You see, in ancient cultures, initiation wasn't optional. It was expected. Boys didn't just become a man because they hit a certain age or grew a beard. They were tested. They were taken from the comfort of the village, from the comfort of their mothers. They were stripped of their safety and led by older, wiser men into wild, dangerous places. Why? Because masculinity is bestowed. It's passed down, and it only happens in the company of other men, not women, not school teachers, not therapists, and sure as hell not HR departments. But here's the catch. Most of us never got that. We weren't led. We weren't initiated. We were thrown into the deep end of life with no map, no mission, and no masculine mentors. We were told to shut up, sit down, and make everyone else comfortable. We were told to be nice boys. And yet, here you are, still searching, still hungry. And that hunger, that ache in your chest, that's the wild man whispering, it's time. Now, if you're over 50, you might be wondering, isn't it too late? Hell no. You are not behind. You are not late. You are right on time and you are perfectly positioned. You've been through the fires of life. You've got scars, you've got stories and wisdom. And now it is time to initiate yourself into the man you were always meant to be. So, how do you do it? Let me give you some modern paths to masculine initiation that you can do right now. Number one, get into some wild places. You need to leave the comfort of your castle. That might mean going into the literal wilderness, backpacking, solo hikes, hunting trips, or it might mean doing something uncomfortable and unknown. But the key is get away from the noise. Be tested by silence and struggle. Number two, create sacred space with other men. Join, or better yet, form a brotherhood. A circle of men who don't settle for mediocrity, who challenge each other to level up physically, spiritually, and emotionally. No performance, no pretending, just truth, accountability, and masculine fire. Number three, do something hard on purpose. Train for a fight. Run a mountain. Do 75 hard. Cold plunge. Fast. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you voluntarily choose discomfort to forge your edge. Number four, mentor and be mentored. Seek out wise older men and younger men who need your wisdom, because masculinity multiplies in community, not in isolation. And finally, number five, ruthlessly eliminate comfort addiction. Your couch isn't making you a king. Your porn habit isn't serving your mission. Your safe little routines aren't taking you anywhere bold. So ask yourself, what am I clinging to that's making me soft? And then cut it loose. You weren't meant to coast into retirement. You were made to reclaim your wildness and live with bold, burning purpose, because here's the deeper truth. Initiation never really ends. Every season of life calls you into deeper fire, into greater clarity, into fiercer responsibility. And for those of us over 50, now's the time to become the elder your younger self never had. To show the way, to carry the torch, to speak the truth boldly and walk with strength, wisdom, and fire. This is your call, men, not to fade quietly, but to rise fearlessly, to become the man your soul always knew you could be. All right, guys, let's go back to the beginning of the story. The king's son, the boy, is playing with a golden ball. It's the thing he loves the most in the world, and it slips away. It rolls into the cage, and it disappears behind the bars of the wild man's cage. It's his prison. That golden ball, it's a symbol for your gift, your genius, your purpose, your sacred calling. When we're young, we know what lights us up. We run wild, we create, we imagine, we dream without limits. At 8 years old, you don't worry about being practical or playing it safe. You just knew what you loved. And then the world steps in. Parents, teachers, coaches, bosses, culture. They told you to settle down, be realistic, get a job, be responsible. They said, that thing you love, that's not for men like you. So what did we do? We traded our golden ball for a 401k. We put our dreams in a cage and we handed the key to someone else. But deep down, we never stopped wanting it back. And here's what Iron John tells us, what your soul already knows. To reclaim your golden ball, you must free the wild man. Because without him, without that primal, untamed part of you, you'll keep showing up in life as a watered-down version of who you really are. You'll check the boxes, you'll stay safe, you'll be liked, and you'll never feel fully alive. And look, to be clear, I'm not talking about quitting your job and becoming a painter or riding off into the mountains on your Harley. I'm talking about rediscovering the fire that makes you you. Maybe your gift is leadership, or storytelling, or building, or mentoring. Maybe it's strength, or presence, or fatherhood, or faith. Whatever it is, it's golden, and it's yours. But here's the deal. You don't stumble into it. You don't find it while numbing out with Netflix or scrolling your phone or chasing comfort. You find it when you go into the wild, free the wild man, ask him to lead you back to what you lost. So, as we're wrapping up here, the question I want you to sit with is this. What's your golden ball? What did you love before the world told you not to? And what would it look like to get that back? Because the second half of life isn't about slowing down or fading out. It's about becoming more of who you truly are. It's about remembering your gift and giving it away with fire and purpose. Your golden ball is still there, waiting, glowing, calling. You just have to be bold enough to go after it. All right, man. So if you've been tracking with me this far, you already know that this isn't just a story. This was a summons, a call to go deeper, to reclaim what was lost, to stop playing small and finally become the man you were created to be. There's a wild man inside you. He's strong. He's fierce. He's dangerous in the best way possible. He builds, he protects, he speaks the truth, he leads. But he doesn't show up for passive men. He doesn't walk beside those who are more committed to comfort than to calling. You want your power back? You want your golden ball? Then it's time to steal the key, unlock the cage, and walk shoulder to shoulder with your wild man into the unknown. So here's my challenge for you. This week, do one thing that wakes up your wild man. Go train, and I mean train like it matters. Maybe take a cold plunge, turn off the noise, and go spend some time alone in the woods. Speak a bold truth that you've been sitting on. Cut something out of your life that's keeping you soft. Or sit down, open a blank page, and ask, what's my golden ball? And then wait and listen for the answer. Whatever it is, make it count. This isn't theory. This is initiation. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for the timing to be perfect. And you sure as hell don't need to keep living like your best years are behind you. You are a man, you are wild, and you were made for more. So go, do the hard thing, get uncomfortable, wake up the wild man. He's waiting. All right, man, that's what I've got for you this week. If this episode hit home for you, do me a favor, share it with another man who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already done so, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single step of this journey of owning your edge. Till next time, stay sharp, stay strong, and never settle for average. Okay, men, that's our show for this week. Don't forget to download our free guide titled How to Raise Your Testosterone Naturally. You can find the download link in the show notes for this episode on whatever app you're listening to this podcast on. If you've enjoyed today's show, here are 3 ways you can support us. Number 1, share this episode with a friend. Number 2, make sure to like and follow this show, and please consider leaving us a 5-star review. Number 3, give us a follow over at Instagram. We're at Alpha Edge Army. So that's Alpha Edge Army all run together. I really appreciate you men taking the time to listen. And until next week, stay strong.